Chapter 1, the where, why, and how of data collection. In this video, we will learn how to categorize data by type and level of measurement. Here we have a diagram that displays the different data types and data measurement levels and how they relate to one another. It's important to know because the starting point in analyzing data is to first understand what kind of data you have, because that will determine the process that you'll use. So let's first look at the different data types. Quantitative data is inherently numerical, so we're dealing with numbers. And in chapters 5 and 6, we'll talk about discrete numbers and continuous numbers. The other data type is qualitative. So these are categorical. Examples would be marital status, married, single, divorced, political affiliation, eye color. So these are not numbers related. So think quantitative, quantity, numbers, qualitative, quality. There's some attribute or category that's related. Other data types you should be aware of is time series. So this is a set of consecutive data values that are observed at successive points in time. So perhaps if you follow the stock market on a daily basis. Then there's cross-sectional. So this is a set of data values at a fixed point in time. So think of it more like a snapshot in time, like when you take a picture. So an example here would be bank data about its loan customers. So a time series is over time. We see multiple data points, whereas cross-sectional is a single snapshot. So here's an example. We've got sales numbers for 4 different cities over 4 different years. So here we've got circled sales numbers for Atlanta, and that would be considered time series data because we have 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012 data, and we can see how sales have either gone up or down over those 4 years. However, if we looked down the column for 2009, that's considered cross-sectional data. So we have taken a snapshot to look at just 2009, and in 2009 we can look at Atlanta, Boston, Cleveland, and Denver. So think time series, a series of time periods, or cross-sectional data, a snapshot. With data measurement levels, there is an order from low to high in that the lowest level, you're limited in the kinds of data analyses you can conduct, all the way up to the highest, where for these types of data, we can do all kinds of data analysis. So the first and lowest level is nominal data. So these are really, in other words, categories, labels, or names. For instance, gender, major, or marital status. Theoretically, these labels or names are equal to one another. There's no one name or label better than another. Next is ordinal data. So it's similar to categories, labels, and names, but now there is a ranking to it. So we've got ordered categories or some kind of scaling. So this may include satisfaction ratings or, for instance, rating performance on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, our third type of data measurement level is interval data. This type of data can be measured, but it has no true zero. So for instance, the most commonly used example is temperature. No true zero, meaning, for instance, if I told you it was 0 degrees Fahrenheit, you know that means it's really cold. So there is something that is occurring at 0. There's no true zero in that sense. Or for instance, the time of day. I ask you what time it is. There's no zero in the time of day. This leads us to ratio data. So this is measurable data and a true zero exists. So examples here would be height, age, and salary. So 0 height would be, well, non-existent, for instance, but we have the height of 5'3" person, like myself. Same thing with age. You can have a 20-year-old person or a 1-year-old, or for instance, salary. For instance, you could have a true $0 salary, meaning you don't have one, or you're working for free. So let's do a quick check-in. When you are given data like this, the first thing you'll want to do is identify the different variables in the set. So we'll start in column A and look across the columns so we can see college name, state, public, private, so on and so forth. We have a total of 14 factors or variables that we can study. Next, you want to figure out, is this time series or cross-sectional? So for instance, when we look at this data, do you see anything that lets us know that there are multiple time periods going on? Since we don't, then we know it's cross-sectional data. This is a single snapshot. We don't know exactly what year or when, but we know it's not time series data. The next step is to determine, well, which variables in our data set here are quantitative, numeric, and which are qualitative, or some kind of quality. So if you notice, column A is college name. That's a name, label, a category. So it is considered nominal. Same thing with state. And then column C, it's a bit tricky, but as you can see, public and private are labels, but they've been given a code or a number to identify it. So A, B, and C, columns A, B, and C are considered nominal level data. They're qualitative. So this is at the very bottom of our data measurement levels, and that there's not a whole lot you can do in terms of analyzing this kind of data. You can perhaps group and count how many public schools there are and how many private schools, but other than that, you can't do a whole lot. Now, if we look at the data to the right, we see SAT scores, application numbers, full-time, part-time, graduates, tuition. These are numeric, so we know it's quantitative, and because they're measurable, there's a true zero, that you could get a zero on the SATs, or you could have free tuition, so it'd be $0, so there are true zeros. In that case, these variables are considered quantitative ratio level data. Ratio level, recall, is at the highest level, meaning we can do all kinds of data analyses with columns D through N. And when we move forward into the other chapters, you'll learn the different ways we can analyze all of this data. So that is the last section of chapter 1. If you have any questions, let me know.